Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, continuing our series on companies that built the world. Nothing runs like a Deere. What do you say?
Oh, you stole that. I was so going to use that later on. But I would say these are companies that fed the world.
Ooh.
Because I would hope most people know, maybe some of the younger kids don't, but John Deere was all about the foods for the longest time. I mean, nowadays people are like, oh, I got my riding lawnmower and I got my Gator, side-by-side utility vehicle, but they were all about the foods.
How cool is a Gator side-by-side utility vehicle, though?
So I've wanted one for multiple years, like
For no reason, right?
Yeah, because my yard is like 50 by 100. Like, what would I do with one?
Park it there.
I don't
that's
have a
it.
trolley, but they are the coolest, and I would love to have a side by side. But
Yeah, they are super cool. All right, so let's hear what's going on with John
okay,
Deere, Luke.
so high level, I'm going to go through what I'm going to call the details. So it was
Okay.
founded in 1873 in Moline.
I think that date's wrong, my friend.
I'm sorry, 1837.
That
Wow.
dyslexia is coming back.
That
strong.
dyslexia, it is strong with me. Its headquarters are actually still there. It was founded after, it was founded with his name, John Deere, and it's spelled interestingly. It's Deere. The current stock price as of this morning was $236.41 and rising. So not that bad stock.
That's how low it was?
Yeah. This morning.
236?
Yeah, this morning it was 263. Oh my goodness.
My goodness.
The dyslexia is bad today. I think I need more coffee. 263.41.
There you
Wow,
go. And
that's
what are the
terrible.
letters? What's its ticker symbol? It's like DE or something like that.
I'm not sure.
I think that's what it is.
Its current CEO is a cat by the name of John C. May. He's only been there since 2019, so he's a pretty early CEO there. Their 2019 sales revenue was $39.26 billion, and they have over 47,000 employees worldwide if you include all of their subsidiaries. They got a lot of subsidiaries. So those are the general details, and I think you're going to walk us through a little bit of a timeline starting in 1837, hopefully, not 73.
I'm actually definitely not 73. Before we get into the history, though, you said they have somebody that just started in 2019 running the joint, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have like a surprisingly small number of people that have been in charge.
Yeah.
They've only had like 8 or 9 different CEO, president type people running the company, which is, stability, right?
Yeah, just like the Steelers, 3 head coaches in the last...
Just like the Steelers.
Just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Only had 3 head coaches in the last 30 years.
Yeah, gosh, both amazing organizations. Anyways, I'm going to go back even a little further, Luke, to 1804. That's when Johnny Deere was born in Rutland, Vermont. It's a pretty big place. In 2010, they had a population around 4,000 people. So it was a bustling metropolis, I would say.
I think is the right word.
So, it's not even near Burlington, so I don't know why anyone would be there. But anyways, he was raised by a single mother, Luke. Very sad.
His pa went off to England, right?
No, his dad didn't run out to England. He didn't run off to get smokes and never came back. Nothing like that. I saw that he was lost at sea. He might have headed over to England. And
I think that's what it is. He was on a trip to England. That's right. He was leaving for England to do some business, and that is the story.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, check out our episode on lighthouses. They help people not be lost at sea.
Exactly.
So, too soon? I don't know.
Too soon.
He was trained as a blacksmith, which is pretty interesting to me. And after the New England economy collapsed, much like the 2020 New England Patriots collapsed, he moved to Grand Tour, Illinois.
33 years old when that happened.
Yeah. That's a big move.
Would you move your family across the country at age 33?
No, I don't want to leave my house at age 38. So ironically, he specialized in making bastard swords. So, the That's
What's a
not true.
Well, I don't
Uh,
know.
it's a type of sword, but you
Okay.
can totally say that without getting in trouble because it's actually a type of
Okay.
sword.
Okay.
So talking to his customers, kind of weird, he found out that the cast iron plows that all the farmers would use weren't great for the Midwest soil.
They were terrible, to be
Terrible,
specific. To
that
be specific.
that's the word he used, which is interesting. He figured out that the nice shiny steel surface and maybe some new curvature on it would work a lot better. So the old cast iron plows, all of the dirt and stuff would get stuck on them. The farmers every few steps would have to go and kick it off and then keep pushing this thing or pulling it, I suppose, whatever it would be. I guess they pushed them, right?
Well, I think the animals push them and they steer, or the animals pull them and they steer.
And they steer the animals. Okay, there we go. So he did this, and it was kind of weird. He found an old saw blade,
I
like
saw that.
in the garbage somewhere, and he was like, "Ah, this will make a good plow." And for some reason, like this is such a big problem that like hundreds of people showed up to watch this display of him like testing out this saw blade plow. And it worked pretty okay. And this became his new business. Like he went from blacksmithing all the things to I'm just the dude who makes plows for all of you in the Midwest, which
And
is
and
kind of
those of
interesting.
you that poo-poo us sometimes for not being too engineering,
Engineering.
uh, that's all about friction, folks. Cast iron, super rough, porous surface. The dirt would collect. He went to a smoother, like James said, a saw blade, and there was less friction, so the mud and dirt would just kind of fall off of the polished steel surface, essentially. So
That's
there's
right.
the engineering in this episode.
Yeah, now shut your faces, complainers. Was that what I was supposed to follow up with, or
Something like a
something like
little
that?
harsh, but
Okay. So after making that move, he went off to what was it? Malloyne? Is that it? Illinois?
I think
And
that's how you pronounce it.
yeah, it's on the banks of the Mississippi.
The mighty
Um,
Mississippi.
so really good idea there, right? Gets water power from, a massive river. And then he can also use boats to bring materials in and ship products.
Hang
So
out with Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer as much as he likes.
I assume that they did that sort of stuff together. Which one was the one that convinced the guy to paint the fence because it was fun?
I have no idea.
Obviously, we are very well read. Moving on to 1852, John Deere buys out his partners after they had a disagreement on product quality. And so he had some statement. His partners basically were like, you know what, man, we can make garbage and these people are going to start or keep buying it. And he says, they haven't got to take what we make and somebody else will beat us with this and we'll lose our trade. So he was really about supporting those farmers, making sure that the products he was making were high quality and going to serve the people well.
I
And
don't
that
know. I don't
it's
know
a
if
consistent theme.
I don't know if notorious is the right word, but they are notoriously good products.
Like
I
high
feel like
quality.
I feel like notorious isn't the right word to use there. I
No,
can't
like
think
the
of the
opposite
correct. I
of
can't think of the
notorious.
correct word to use. But yeah, their stuff is like rock solid equipment. Even to this day, it's built that way.
Yeah, rock solid, but they're plowing. Anyways. All right. So bought out his partners in 52. So now he owns all of his company. A big time advancement in tech showed up in 1863 with the Hawkeye riding cultivator, which is a super sweet name in the first place. But
Mm-hmm.
it was the first implementation that was adapted for riding. So this sounds way better than not riding or than just guiding the animals. But you basically would sit on this plow with two giant wheels that were strapped to a couple horses, and the horses would then pull you along for the ride as you're plowing through the field. What was even cooler that I thought, well, sitting down's pretty cool, but was also pretty cool is that it included like a wooden peg that would break whenever it hit something hard. So like if it hit a stone, it would break the peg instead of busting up the shovels or like
Oh,
the prongs of
there's
the
like a
plow.
safety switch so that would break before it hit the actual
Exactly.
metal prong. That's a great
Exactly. So,
idea.
oh yeah, great idea, and saved like all sorts of money then in repairs and parts replacements. So moving on, do you want to talk about anything here or should I just keep busting through?
So I just have some numbers that I'm
Oh, I'd
sure.
love to hear
So,
numbers.
and these are going to span some of the years you're going to hit. So
Mm-hmm.
in 1836, he sold 3 plows.
Three?
In 1839, he sold 10.
Something.
In 1840, he sold 40. And by 1846, he almost sold 1,000 plows. So
Wow.
basically, he went from 3 to 1,000 per year in less than 10 years, like 8 years or something like that. It was kind of crazy how quickly he was able to ramp up production and all that sort of stuff. So just covered a bunch of years there
That's
just to give you an idea
impressive.
of how quickly that happened.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like I don't know how much like it would cost to live back then. I'm guessing 1,000 plows was like dudes rolling in money,
Gotta
but
be.
maybe 3 or 10 was even like a reasonable number to be selling back then.
Yeah.
Huh, I don't know. All right, so before we get into 1864, which is where I'm going next, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
I have to assume John Deere.
I was going to try and come up with like a clever like competitor to John Deere, but no, in fact, we do not
It's
have a shout out.
it's John Deere, Jondeer.
His arch nemesis.
His arch nemesis.
So no sponsor, but we do have a couple of shout outs.
Who do we got?
Even better, I would say.
Yes,
We have Long Neck Timmy coming to us from YouTube. For those of
Nice.
you who don't know, we have a YouTube channel. I think there's 3 people that know it exists. He says that he's boycotting the Joe Rogan podcast and is hooked on unprofessional engineering.
What?
So suck on that, Joe Rogan.
Joe
We're taking
Rogan.
all your listeners, everyone out there, go make it known that we're
Yes.
taking Joe Rogan down. And when we do, we could actually retire. So that would be
Yes.
sweet. We also have a write-in from Cassie A, writing all the way from Australia. 2 years down on her civil engineering degree. So congrats on that.
Yeah, civil, but yeah, we'll take it.
It's still good. Happy to send you some stickers, Cassie, so I'm going to be reaching out for that address. People love saying I want stickers, but not sending addresses. So keep an eye out for your email. Other than that, why don't you all email us? Write in and say what a great job we're doing. Tell us that you hate Joe Rogan's podcast and you love us far more. Give us some topic ideas, request some stickers, or just say happy holidays to the 2 of us.
Exactly. And don't forget to give us, at a minimum, a 4-star review. We can't always say 5. I don't want to be needy, James, and say we need 5 stars, but give us some reviews. We'd like to hear that. And as usual, if you ever want to listen to us, you can yell at your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering Podcast.
That's right. I think I forgot to tell you, but the email address is unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. I figure everyone knows that by now because they've listened to all 200 plus episodes, but what
Fact.
do I know? Fact. All right. So moving on to 1864. It took this long for John Deere to land his first patent, which was interesting. And this was for the molds that were used for casting steel plows. I don't know if he wasn't using molds before that or if he just never got around to the patent process or what, but that's a long time to be, dangling these things out there.
Yeah, I'd say.
Like 30 plus years. In 68, the business took its next big step, incorporating as Deere and Co. What I thought was interesting about this one, which is why I called it out, is there were only 4 shareholders to start with, which is kind of funny. John and his son Charles, oddly enough, it was his second son, so I don't know if something happened to the first one or what. But so Charles, who was then running the manufacturing side of things, combined, they owned 65% of the shares of the company. So they were doing pretty okay.
Fun fact about the company.
Oh, yes.
The Leaping Deer trademark, recognized worldwide, was created over a century ago, and it's the longest continuously used corporate logo of any Fortune 500 company.
Isn't that amazing?
Now, it's looked different. Like the very
Yeah, it
original ones, it looked like your grandkid drew the deer, and then it got a little more kind of abstract. But yeah, the longest running logo. That's kind of crazy.
That's super crazy. And I think the one they have now was last, the last iteration was in the year 2000,
Yeah,
give or take.
that's right.
But yeah, it's definitely taken different forms, but still really recognizable, at least if you're in America. I don't know about other countries.
Oh, I would think they're in other countries. I mean, they're a
Sure.
global company. Agriculture's everywhere.
Yeah, but other countries might not have the trucker caps we have going on and stuff like that. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe I just think we're bigger rednecks than other countries. So in 73, Johnny Deere was elected as mayor of his city.
I saw that.
He served for 2 years. They gave him credit for improving the infrastructure, like the streets and the sidewalks and the sewers and all of that good stuff, making it a safe place for children to play. It really does sound like, unlike a lot of the people that we've done episodes on, he was a pretty seemed like a pretty good person.
The
Maybe there was
only
stuff out there that I didn't
There was
see, but
one weird thing I saw. His wife died and he
okay.
married her sister.
Ooh. So is that a no-no?
Well, I feel like, maybe like back in the day, like it was all about like taking care of your family. And my guess is her sister
Yeah.
probably lived with them beforehand as like a big families would, and everybody would be in one house. And,
Yeah.
it was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it probably wasn't anything bad. It was probably like, hey, my sister died. It's a couple years later. You're living here anyways. Let's do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he did seem like
That's
a pretty good guy.
he did. And I'm a big fan of my sister-in-law, but she has 2 kids. So I mean, it's a deal breaker already.
Nope.
Sorry. Uh, okay. So you mentioned the trademark, super
Yep.
cool. So Deere and Mansour Company is formed in Moline to manufacture corn planters shortly after. A separate organization from the normal one, it had its own branch. It eventually became part of Deere and Company in 1910. But this was kind of like their first venture away from plows and stuff like that. And then the corn planters were like their next big step in farming.
Gotcha.
So fun fact, today planters are still made on the original site at John Deere Seeding in Moline. So Moline,
I'm going to say
Moline,
Moline. That sounds cooler.
Moline. All right.
Another fun fact, the
Mhm.
oldest known running John Deere tractor is a 1923 John Deere D.
It still runs?
It actually still runs. I saw it at like one of these collector shows. I don't think it's like used, like they don't use it on the farm. It's a collector's item.
You saw it online at one of these, or you were at a show and
No,
saw
I know. I
this?
didn't personally.
Oh,
I was watching a video online about the oldest running John Deere tractor
interesting.
in 1923, and you can sit on it and fire it up and drive it. It's beautiful. It looks like it's brand new because they've restored it, but I think it's worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the condition for
Oh my
collectors.
goodness. Yes, I'm sure. I saw that if you go on the John Deere website, they like have a part, like a whole part about like the price of stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
John Deere toys, and there's just like this whole collector's market out there. And they had to have a statement on there like, we do not appraise your junk, basically, is what it said. So it was interesting. In 1875, let me know if you saw this one. The Gilpin Sulky plow defeated 50 other plows in a field trial at the Paris Universal Exposition. Why is that a big deal? I don't know if it is, but who has plowing contests? Like, that's a thing?
Well, I mean, I think back in the day, right? We did that thing on the what's that? The trade show, the worldwide trade show. We did the
The
pod.
Oh,
What's that
that'll
thing
actually
called?
come up here. It was the Chicago World's
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah. So I'm sure at like these World Fair expos, it's like I want to be the best plow company in the world. I'm sure that doing these exhibitions, is how you sold stuff back then. That
Yeah, I guess so.
I
And
mean,
if you show that you win the plowing contest, why not buy that one?
keep in mind, people back in the day were very much like show me type people. Like you had to show me why this was better than that, and they didn't just take your word for it. So
And I guess they
uh,
didn't have Netflix to fill their time,
they
so.
did not.
It's okay. So 1886, this was a sad time for the Deere family. John Deere died at the age of 82. Just before dying, I read that he said, during his long life, it had been a great source of consolation to him to know that he had never willfully wronged any man and never put on the market a poorly made article. But just again, like reiterating, like he
Yeah.
really did seem like he cared about the customers, he cared about the product quality, and overall was a pretty decent
And
person.
I can say, James, I feel the same about our podcast. We've never done one that we didn't fully believe in and care about the topic. Oh, no, never mind. There were a few bad ones.
No comment.
We will
Um,
leave those unnamed. Find them for yourself. There's only a
man,
few.
there's a couple. I know there's one in particular that really comes to mind for me. But anyways,
On
one fun
anyways.
fact for you, Luke.
Shoot.
In the 1890s, John Deere actually made bicycles.
Really?
That's it. That was all I got. It was like,
Well, no, so
I just feel like that would be a great collector's item.
I'm
right?
going
If
to
you
talk
have one
about
of
their
those.
diversification here after the rant, but they are in so many different things that you just don't even consider, which is kind of crazy. So
Yeah. In
not
1890,
surprising.
No, not at all. In 1892, the first ever successful gasoline-powered tractor showed up, but it wasn't actually created by John Deere. But in true Merkin fashion, in 1918, John Deere went out and acquired the company, Waterloo Gas Line Engine Company.
Just got to buy them up.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. You don't get in trouble unless you're Facebook. Then you get in trouble for buying the competition. I don't know. Okay, so like you mentioned, though, like these world fairs, right? The World's Columbian Exposition, which was hosted in Chicago. And if you haven't checked out our episode on that, go check it out because it's
a good one.
Yeah. Charles Deere, who was the son who's now president, not of the United States, he was president of the company at the time, serves as one of two representatives from the state of Illinois. And considering that's where it was being hosted, it was kind of a big honor for him to be there. He also ordered all sorts of like copper deer statues, like the jumping deer, to be part of it. And these can now be found outside of a bunch of the John Deere facilities. So that's kind of interesting.
Interesting fact.
Another sad day in the Deere family. Charles Deere dies in 1907 and is succeeded by his son-in-law, William Butterworth. So I don't think he was part of like the syrup empire, but maybe
the Mrs. Butterworth syrup empire. Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
But during this guy's tenure, 21 years, annual sales grew from 4.5 million, which is pretty okay, up to 61 million, which is slightly more okay.
Slightly more.
That's what I've learned from my economics courses.
That's a lot of money.
Do you have any more to go? Because we need to take a break.
I got the product line and some more fun facts. We can do the break and I'll come back to them.
All right. So let's hear this week's Luke's Rant.
So this one's timely depending on when you're listening to this. So right now it's the end of December, right before Christmas, and I've been relegated to doing all of my shopping on Amazon. And this is the first year that I've done that, and we're doing it as a family. So my wife is purchasing things via Amazon. Our daughter's actually doing it. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'll ever do it again, James.
Why?
As nice as it is to not have to go out, the pandemic is happening and you can't kind of go everywhere you want. You got to wear a stupid mask everywhere, which you should. Doesn't mean I don't like them. Right. You should wear them. I wear mine. But it's so different. Like I feel bad about not shopping local. I feel like I should be spending my money on but the problem is a lot of these stores that I want to shop at are closed. So it's this really weird feeling that I have that it's super convenient. It's super easy. The prices are great. But I feel like if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, it feels like when I can just sit at home and order everything directly to my door, food, clothing, literally everything. It just doesn't feel right. So this is the last year I'm going to do this.
See, some of us would consider that living the dream, never having to leave the house, never putting on pants, the good stuff. I will say one bad thing about it is we also just got hit with a foot of snow, which was not pleasant. But I was then required by my wife to go out and shovel my driveway and sidewalks so that the Amazon delivery guy can easily drop all of her packages off at the front door.
You don't want them to decide not to drop them off because there's too much snow.
Yes. Rather unfortunate. Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on.
All righty. So
what do you got for me?
So I want to talk about their product lines because it's super comprehensive. Like I think a lot of people think, oh, John Deere makes tractors. So I'm going to go through all of their product lines and there's so many, I'm not going to hit on like every single solitary one. I was going to say, you're definitely not doing all of them. So their first big one, agricultural, agricultural. And this is everything to do with farming. And within agricultural, there's literally hundreds of different types of tractor sizes, applications, harvesters, balers, you name it. Lawn and garden, this would be consumer grade lawn and garden. So the riding tractors that like you and I might buy, all the things for home garden. Construction industry, I kind of knew this, but I didn't really put it together. Apparently they have a ton of front loaders and excavators, and they're really big in the construction industry. Landscape and grounds care. So this is anything that like a professional landscaper would use. Again, tons of products in there. Another one I didn't think about, golf and turf sport. So
Mm-hmm.
any place that has, really good turf style greens that you cut with really specific turf mowers, they make a ridiculously expensive line of those for like baseball, football, golf, forestry. So anything dealing with chopping down trees and processing them. They also have an entire engine and drivetrain division where they make just John Deere engines. Apparently their engines run like crazy. Like you said, nothing runs like a Deere. And finally, they have a whole electronic solution department where they build and develop user interfaces for all of this construction and agricultural equipment. And this also includes all of their personal, like side by sides, the off-road vehicle division. They have a military division. There's so many divisions they have. It's actually pretty ridiculous the number of products that they sell. So lots
Yeah,
of stuff there.
I went through their list on their webpage just because, like you're saying, I had no idea some of this stuff they build. But some of my favorites included the articulated dump truck. I just like saying that. Brooms.
They do.
Okay, they make brooms. Something called corn heads.
I didn't see that one.
They designed their own data management solutions,
Yep.
which makes sense. But software, really? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess they're doing this for the farmers, so to like understand their
sure.
yields and
For sure.
processing and all that sort of stuff.
Hammers.
You gonna buy a John Deere hammer?
Apparently, I should.
Nice.
Marine engines.
Yeah, I didn't go specifically into engines, but that makes sense. I could see them doing marine.
And no products that begin with J. So there you go.
No products.
Like no J words. They had no products listed that began with the letter J.
Why is that interesting?
Well, they had them listed alphabetically. And as I was going through, I was like, no J's.
So I have a fun fact for you. So
I want to hear it.
I went through and configured the largest tractor they make.
Oh my goodness.
It is the John Deere 9620RX. This has tank tread style triangular shaped wheels. And it weighs anywhere between 45,000 to 62,000 pounds, depending on how you equip it. And it is over 620 horsepower. So a little bit more than the Tacoma has. And when you configure this thing, and I did all the bells and whistles, I did the cup holder and the air conditioning and the Bose sound system and all the accoutrements. So these things, you can configure them like a car because you're in this thing all day. So it's got to be comfortable. I did the luxury seats. $770,000 for a tractor. So I can't, how many do they make a year, right? How many farmers? And I imagine these are really big, like multinational agricultural companies that are buying these types of tractors, because who buys a $750,000 tractor?
Oh, I love that.
It's pretty cool though. I found a page that said I would drive this John Deere before a Lamborghini. And when you looked at like the interior of this tractor, it had like an AC unit and like a leather seat, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right, let me bust through a few more dates. How about that to wrap things up? So in 31, responding to the impact of the Great Depression, the company took on $12 million in farmers' notes and extended terms on already purchased tractors and power machinery. This means sales fell 86% over the next 2 years, but it built up like really strong like brand loyalty.
Of
again, seems like a good company. In 42, the president accepted a commission as an army colonel, and the next guy stepped in before he returned 2 years later. The Will Wyam, the guy that got sent to the army, directs the Farm Machinery and Equipment Division of the War Production Board, so helping out the war efforts. Now, here comes my favorite part, of course, of every episode. It's the war tie-in.
Oh, there's always a war tie-in.
1943, Deere makes military tractors, which apparently is a thing.
It's
which
a thing.
Awesome. Ammunition, aircraft parts, and cargo and mobile laundry units during World War II. The John Deere Battalion, comprised of employees and dealers, repair tanks in Belgium and France during the war. They had their own battalion, right? Super awesome. So nothing cool happened in the 50s. 63, the consumer equipment division, today's turf business, shows up. And that's where things like garden tractors, mowers, and snowblowers start becoming a thing. 71 is when Nothing Runs Like a Deer is introduced for their new snowmobile line. So we all still know Nothing Runs Like a Deer, but snowmobiles no longer run like deer
Yeah,
because
so
they sold them off.
so that initial tagline was specifically for the snowmobile, and
Hmm.
all of their other farming equipment. They actually poo-pooed that
Uh-huh.
tagline for a number of years. They didn't think it would resonate with farmers and their typical audience.
They
And
were wrong.
here, I think it ended up, being probably one. I mean, I know that logo. I mean, when you think of it, I mean, everybody thinks Nothing Runs Like a Deer, and it actually is something that they still use to this day. So,
Did you know that other things do run like deer though?
well, I imagine an antelope does,
Yeah,
maybe a
gazelle.
gazelle.
Yeah. 92, they launched the Gator utility vehicle. Gets its own shout out because
Love
it's
the
super
gator.
cool. In 2000, John Deere acquires Timberjack, the world leading producer of forestry equipment. You mentioned how big they are in that.
Hmm.
And in 2013, this is my last fun date for you. The Smithsonian Magazine selects John Deere's plow as one of the 101 objects that made America. So the plow was chosen from 137 million artifacts held by the Smithsonian's 19 museums. How crazy is
So
that?
when we did our episode on inventions,
I don't
I,
think it
I
made
I
it.
don't know how, it's hindsight. I don't know how the plow didn't make it, because if you just think of like feeding like the world, like how do you do that without the invention of the plow to make food
Kind
and
of
plant
important.
crops? Yeah,
Yeah. At
hindsight.
least honorable mention, right?
I think we might need to revisit that and do a 2.0 version of our inventions,
That
because
was a
that
good
has to be on
episode
there.
too. If you haven't checked out our top 10 inventions episode, you're really missing out and doing yourself a disservice. Anything else you wanted to add about our good friend Johnny Deere or his company?
No, if John Deere, likes this episode and someone listens and they'd like to send me one of the the John Deere side by sides, I wouldn't say no. And I can give you an address.
Yeah.
Just send an
Heck,
email. Yeah.
even if you just want to send me a cool trucker cap, I'm good with that too. I'll wear it on our next episode.
I'll take the Gator over the trucker cap if I had to choose.
Okay. Well, if any of you want to send me a cool trucker cap, just say hi, wish us happy holidays, ask for stickers, or tell us that, we're just better than Joe Rogan. Why don't you email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com? And until next time.
See ya.